Welcome, everybody. This is the REI Rocks Review. I'm joined today, as always, with Angel Williams. How you doing this morning, Angel?
I'm doing pretty good. The weather would figure itself out. It was literally 80 2 days ago, and today it's 32.
Yeah, that's fantastic, isn't it? It's
At least I still have my voice.
Yep. That's about all you can hope for. We got Jason coming in now. I'll add him to the stream. Here comes Jason. Sort of. We'll see how that works. Wait till he actually appears on screen. I could hear the background noise, but this is the REI Rocks Review where we go through the different summit presentations. We got another summit coming up soon, but Angel, why don't you tell everybody what's going on?
Absolutely. So the next summit is the Spring Summit. It's coming up March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. As of right now, we have 38, maybe 39 speakers. And what that will be is they're all pre-recorded presentations. They're 30 to 45 minutes long. Some are a little bit longer. Some are quite a bit longer. Dr. Jamil really loves to put it all out there when he's doing his sessions. So those are always amazing, and about an hour and a half usually. So they're really great. He's speaking again. There's a lot of other really great speakers that are going to be a part of it. So it's going to be really super awesome. And we've also got a new upgrade. So if you want to get access to all of the recordings from every single summit we've ever done, you want to get the VIP subscription. What that does is it gives you access to everything. So you get all the pre-recorded content. You also get the recordings of the live stuff too. And you get a free upgrade to all of the live events so long as you have a subscription. So it's a really awesome way to come join us on the live side and have access to all of the sessions. Because guys, I didn't learn everything that I know from a bazillion books or a bazillion podcasts. I got it from those one-on-one sessions. So that was how I learned, and I would love for you to be able to learn it the same way if that is your style.
And I got to chime in on top because, that my background, I've had all sorts of different, business experience. Usually it's like some of it's retail, some of it was manufacturing. Just like there's all these different sides that I've seen to business and how it works. And then coming into real estate, like by the time we met, I'd already gone through a commercial syndicator course and I had an idea how that all works. But, I'm in the same boat as you where like these sessions, me being an attendee in the past and now on staff, it's made such a difference as far as really getting, like the confidence and your finger on the pulse of how all this stuff works. But Jason, now that you're on camera, how are you doing today?
No, I'm doing well. Sorry, y'all saw me tie my tie. I had to run it a little bit late, so.
Yeah, well, I like the proof, just like in case anybody had any doubt of whether or not it was a clip-on, whether you know how to do it. It's kudos to you because I can do the long ties without the bow ones.
Yeah, I was flexing. That's why I turned the camera on for it.
Oh, that's too funny. All right, but today we're going to be reviewing Brett SWARTZ's presentation and Amy, what am I talking about? Angel. It's so weird. Angel, so do you want to give some background on what he's talking about? Like, I know that you were emphasizing the DST side of it, but go ahead.
No, absolutely. So most of the time when you hear DST, you think Delaware Statutory Trust. That is actually not what Brett does. It's a deferred sales trust, and it just works out a little bit differently. So what it means is the time horizon is basically eliminated. You're not stuck with that the 45 days to identify, 180 days to close. Like you're not constrained by that with a deferred sales trust. And the other thing that's really cool about it is it doesn't have to be a like kind exchange. So it could be that you made, I don't know, where are you going to make a bunch of money right now? Maybe you had some amazing stock and you lucked out, and maybe you hedged out and you did some really great stuff. But now you're like, okay, I think things are fixing to get a little crazy. I'm pretty sure a recession is coming. And so you decide, hey, I want to invest this in real estate. Well, you're not going to be able to do that with like a 1031 or a Delaware Statutory. I mean, you're not going to be able to make those kinds of changes. But if you do a deferred sales trust, you absolutely can use those proceeds to purchase real estate. And the way it's taxed is different. The way it's protected is amazing. And I'm going to let Brett like really break it down because I get the basics of it. And so I know enough to be dangerous, but he's going to spell it all out in his presentation.
All right, beautiful. And so then I also get to make use of the technology we have to change the title of this presentation, because I did mention Delaware Statutory Trusts ? So we'll have to fix that. But there we go. So Brett Swartz, this is from the Spring Summit 2022. And one other thing that you need to know is we always watch these videos at 1.5 times speed. And that is so that you get the practice of consuming content faster than typical 1-to-1 speeds. And it's a fantastic way to earn more time in your day. And hopefully it'll work out for you. But if you're watching this on replay, don't forget that if you use the gears icon, you can change the playback speed to whatever you prefer. I always watch at 2 times speed, but that's because I don't tend to consume content while I'm driving or anything like that. But do not adjust your set. We are watching at 1.5 times speed. And let's enjoy this presentation from Brett Swartz.
Hey guys, it's Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and we've got Brett Swartz here, and he is fixing to really help us out. If you have been scrambling for capital sometimes, there is a brand new group of people that we can go to, and they're known as crypto millionaires. A lot of times they're really young, and so we do some educating for them and bring them up to speed on like what a syndication is, what it's like to invest in real estate, and we might even have a 22-year-old crypto millionaire on one of the other panels. So I'm just super excited. Brett, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Angel, yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really thrilled to be here. It's an honor to be able to help with the summit here. So, I started out in real estate at a very young age, fell in love with my parents as they were building real estate. I fell in love with real estate. My brother and I, we were, building houses in the Bay Area, having rentals, the cash flow, all of that entrepreneurial type of real estate mindset at a very young age. Then I had a chance to go and study at a company called Marcus & Millichap as an intern. And that's when I started to learn about multifamily investing. And this is in 2006. Fast forward to 2008, the market completely fell apart. And that's where things really got serious because you had to find ways to unlock deals by solving problems. And during this time period as well, my wife and I, our first baby's on the way. I don't know if you've ever been so scared, Angel, you're not sure how you can provide for your family. Well, that's where I found myself. I found myself chasing a dream of real estate, but at the same time, literally having to go into debt, not having any commissions come in, right? I'm not sure how we're going to afford health insurance, not sure how we're going to afford food on the table. And I always start that story because I'm on the other side of some success, but it wasn't without that struggle. And so I did what every good entrepreneur, or real estate wannabe does. You get a side hustle, right? And so that's what I did. I got a side hustle at a place called Cheesecake Factory. And I asked my wife, I said, hey, can we move with my brother into a small condo, even though we have a baby on the way, to save and cut expenses? And I remember sitting in my manager's office at Marcus & Millichap, and another deal just blew up. And I'm like, gosh, there's got to be a better way to help, get into this business. And he goes, well, we're having a speaker that's coming in next week, and he's going to teach us. It's a lunch and learn. And so he brought that speaker in, and that speaker came in and told me about something called the Deferred Sales Trust, which we're going to talk about here in the next 40 minutes or so. And it changed everything for me because it helped me to unlock deals and have a competitive advantage with my clients. And so fast forward, for 2 years, I worked at the Cheesecake Factory, lived with my brother in a small condo, and then started to apply this Deferred Sales Trust. My business started to grow. I started to get more opportunities to meet with people, to get more listings, and I was able to retire from the Cheesecake Factory. And now I just coach and teach people how to do this so that they can get a little bit of competitive edge, and so they can help more people, especially the crypto millionaires that have lots of tax liability and are looking to get into real estate, specifically into multifamily syndications. And so that's a little bit about myself, Angel.
So you're the other DST.
Yes.
And they're actually quite different other than sharing the same letters. Because when somebody was like, oh yeah, this guy talks about DSTs, and I was like, Delaware Statutory Trust? And they're like, oh no, it is completely different.
You nailed it, right? The Delaware Statutory Trust is just another form of a 1031 exchange. So during this period of financial turmoil that I was going through in 2008, so were a lot of my clients. You see, my clients were chasing deals via these 1031 exchanges, overpaying for properties, very low cap rate environment, right? Very competitive environment, low inventory, not a lot of value add deals, and they were taking on too much debt. We call this the shotgun wedding. 45 days to identify, to get engaged, and 180 days to get married or to close the property. And they found themselves fighting for their millions of dollars, right? They couldn't sell high and buy low because they were selling high and buying higher 180 days later. And by the way, a Delaware Statutory Trust is just another form of a 1031. In fact, we call the 1031 exchange blockbuster way of exit planning. And the Delaware, Angel, is just like a Hollywood video. Did you have Hollywood video where you grew up? So it's just very similar, right? And that it allows you to defer capital gains tax on investment property, but you got to give up all control, all liquidity, all the diversification, huge fees. I've done Delaware Statutory Trust, by the way. I'm a broker. I was licensed with my Series 22 and 63. I've given those licenses up.
Hey, I want to pause for a second because I know that like if you're a beginner, it's like we jumped right in there, and I think like one of my favorite things that you emphasize, Angel, about these reviews is we always relate it back to keep it simple, and we emphasize the parts that are important. Where it's like when you're just getting this, deluge of information, it's tough to kind of make heads or tails of it. So the thing that comes to my mind to help you in the audience is it has to do with my 506 Me platform, which is I had to figure out, well, what are the reasons to say no? What are the cons? What are the pros and cons of each different approach? And like with a Delaware statutory trust, there's only one little bit of trivia that always pops into my head, which is you can't recapitalize. In other words, you can't dump more money into a Delaware statutory trust if the business needs more capital just to run well. That's something that comes to my mind. Is there anything else you can think of, Angel, as far as like to try and fence this in a little bit? Like, like they mentioned 1031s as well. And I guess they're all just ways to get capital that belongs to you into something that you actually want to do next. So do you have any comments on that, Angel?
I can. So I think it was pretty neat that he said, basically a Delaware statutory trust is a 1031.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same thing. Your 1031 is where you've sold a property and you're trying to avoid taxes. You're going to kick the can down the road. And so there's this subsection or whatever it is of code, I'm assuming probably IRS, that you can go from one property to another property via this 1031 vehicle, avoid taxes, and buy the next property. Now, there's a few issues with it. You can't have a boot, which a boot is leftover money. So it has to be totally used. And you got that limited amount of time. So that's where like the deferred sales trust can really help you out. So a bunch of stuff going on. You're hearing Delaware statutory 1031, deferred taxes, kicking it down the, kicking the can down the road, deferred sales trust. So lots of different terms that he really does do a pretty good job of clearing up at least the deferred sales trust versus the 1031. So I think I'm going to let him do it.
Oh yeah. That's definitely the right call. And the only other thing I'd want to add, and Jason can probably add a little bit more. One of my favorite parts of one person who came on into our circle onto the scene, like a freight train, Dylan Clark. His background is as a registered investment advisor. And one of the things he came in that made him fairly unpopular for about a week was saying like, real estate isn't the only game in town. And like, if you saying that to a bunch of real estate people, you're like, well wait a second. And his main point though, about, like why 1031s might be a problem, or, in this case, also a Delaware statutory trust, is that you're tied to real estate. But I think that while you're, what's that word? Alive, you're tied to real estate anyway. So, and then as far as equity multiples go, it's one of the only plays. So Jason, I mentioned that you probably have something to say about that, just because you're diversified in single family and multifamily. So what comes to your mind about, like, if somebody says, oh, well, if like 1031s are a problem because you're tied to real estate, what comes to your mind, especially as an underwriter?
Yes, in a sense that you are.
Uh-oh. I don't know if you cut out for you too.
1031. Am I frozen?
Okay. Can you repeat that? Yeah, you unfroze. Yeah. So go ahead and say it again.
Yeah. So you are tied to real estate if you 1031. You can do it indefinitely, and when you die, it dies with you, so you don't pass on the tax burden to your heirs. But if you ever do want to get out, then you're going to have a huge tax liability, and that's what Dylan is getting at. Is like that's how you're tied to it. And Most of the people I know who are in this space, real estate is their lifestyle. They plan on doing it forever, and so it's really no issue. And then if you're actually pretty successful with it, you can figure out one, either overcome the tax liability, just pay it off, or figure out other ways around it. The laws are constantly changing. Who knows what's going to happen 10 years, 50 years from now? So the way I see it now is take it while you can, and yeah, kick the can down the road. Worry about it later, because you can always kick it again if you need to. So.
Right. And I mentioned my business experience in a lot of different online businesses and brick and mortar and all that kind of stuff. And when you really do the math, you find out what their bottom line is, get rid of all the smoke and mirrors and all that. You'll find out that it's tough to get reliable returns. And I think it's just important to realize, like, we're talking about, avoiding taxation, but really the only part that's taxed is the gains. So in other words, if you invested $1 million and then you ended up selling and you end up getting 1.15, something like that, it's the 150K, that 1.5 that you'd be taxed on, not the million, because that would already be on your balance sheet. So again, that's getting into the weeds, but let's let Brett take it away. Let's go.
Because I work with financial advisors now with what we do. But the point is, it can work and it can be a solution, right? But most of the time, it's not great for people, especially for crypto millionaires, because guess what? 1031 doesn't qualify for crypto millionaires. It doesn't qualify for primary homeowners.
Oh, like-kind exchanges.
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. Ew. That's horrible.
Isn't that bad, right? So most of us were stuck in raising capital from people that are in our sphere or in our expertise, like they've owned some rentals and they had some small apartment complexes, and they're familiar with rentals, and we're trying to attract and unlock the capital. But guess what? They have to pay the tax to show up to your door. So that's a big thing to overcome. And sometimes it's 30 to 50% of their gain. And so we just did a deal for a client out of the Silicon Valley. She's in her 20s and she's working for a big tech company. And she has $50 million of Bitcoin that she had purchased for about $50,000 worth. And it went up by about 49.9 million, right? It's just a huge gain. And so she never sold until she met us. And then she met us and said, hey, Brett, here's my two objectives. I want A, defer the capital gains tax, but then B, I want to go start a business venture with a college roommate, and I want to retire from my day-to-day job, and I want to build this dream. I don't want to build a big tech company dream. And so the deferred sales trust unlocked that freedom by giving her some tax deferral, and then the capital can go into that business venture, and it can go into real estate ventures too. And this is what we do every day.
That's just amazing to me. I know that there are all sorts of possibilities out there that so many of us don't ever get to learn about. I know, like when my husband and I got into specifically multifamily, it all of a sudden opened doors for us to be able to JV into oil and gas and do a lot of things that we wouldn't have ever been able to do had we not entered that sphere. So it's to hear that there are other ways to save yourself from being taxed to death is really, really nice.
Isn't that exciting? Yeah, and it's a game changer for all of those. And so what we're going to be talking about here is unlocking capital from crypto millionaires so that you, as a multifamily syndicator, they're just getting started and or seasoned in what you do, adding value to your investors even before they show up, right? I was just, Angel and I were just at the Joe Fairless Best Ever Conference in Colorado. And what I love about Joe is he's about adding value, solving problems, and bringing people together. And he does that with the Best Ever podcast. He does it with the conference. He does it with his coaching with Angel's a part of. And all of that means solving problems. And so
we do a lot of that as well, getting people together for free, actually. And I think that people should definitely join us, particularly on Mondays. So, Angel, you want to talk about Marvelous Mondays?
I can, for sure. So on Mondays at noon Eastern, we meet. There's about anywhere from 25 to 40 of us, experienced syndicators, people that are brand new on the scene, residential. We've got some vendors that come. It's a little bit of everything, and it's super laid back. And we don't always talk real estate. Sometimes we just hang out because we're friends too. And it's a lot of fun, and we would love to have you join us.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. And all you have to do is scan that QR code or go to theacademypresents.com/meetup link. And then you can register for free and hang out with us, meet more people who've already figured this out. I think that's one of the biggest problems that any kind of syndicator, anybody who gets involved in this business as an entrepreneur is going to run into, which is we keep on trying to reinvent the wheel. And there's no point because other people have already done exactly what we're trying to do. So it makes more sense to leverage that network. So it's a great place place to join. Let's continue.
I had the privilege of speaking on stage on this exact talk here. So if you didn't pay all the money for that and you paid it for this, you're about to get the exact same talk. So are you ready to go, Angel?
We are absolutely ready to go.
All right. So I'm gonna share my screen. Although I think you have to give me capability to do it. So if you say allow me to share the screen,
We're done. I forgot to do that. Sorry.
That's okay. And then we can do this. Oh, here. All right. Here we go. So I'm gonna share the screen, and I'm actually going to share that sound there. I'm actually going to open this up. In fact, let me do this one more time. I'm going to open this up with a little intro video, which I think everyone's going to like, and you're going to recognize a couple people on this video. One gentleman's name is Brian Burke, and Brian Burke, for those who don't know, is I like to call him multifamily syndication Hall of Fame. Like he's in the the Joe Fairless, he's in the the Dan Hanford, he's in the Jake and Gino. I mean, these are like the godfathers of multifamily syndication. These are these amazing people. So anyways, I'm going to open up with this video. I think we're going to enjoy. So, but look for Brian Burke and what he says here. So.
Are you telling me that you have a way to defer the tax situation there? Is that what you're
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And so the first one I was referring to is a 1031 exchange, which only applies to investment real estate. The second one I'm referring to is called a deferred sales trust.
A real eye opener to see that there are ways that people can use the regulatory framework, if properly structured, to invest 1031 exchange dollars in things that you would not think were like kind to what they exited from. So it was very impressive. I got to say, you are the first one I've seen pull this off, and I'm pretty hesitant to believe in a lot of these kinds of things. So it's a major feat for me to say, wow, this actually really worked, and it was really cool.
1031 is a way to shelter your income when you sell the thing. The DST is a way to avoid the 1031 and not have to suffer the time penalty.
Our career and during different tax periods, we've seen these tax avoidance, tax minimization, offshore, all these different strategies undertaken to minimize or avoid taxes. And then I can tell you that some of them are just not worth the trouble. And so I was skeptical. Admittedly, I was skeptical. I thought, oh yeah, here we go, another one of these, right? And then they say, no, it really is different, right? So look more closely. We look more closely. We had, honestly, 2 years of conversations. 2 years. Now we were doing due diligence at the same time that we were doing due diligence, but 2 years is a long time to be, sort of flirting with the idea of and getting to know the people and getting to really understand the transaction. Yeah, long story short, we got comfortable, although we are not tax attorneys, lawyers, or estate planning attorneys, that at least, from an investment perspective, that, it made sense to sell a highly appreciated asset, get liquid, hold that in this type of a deferred or installment sale type of instrument, and then just be in a position then to do the most important thing. I'm probably stealing your next question, which is time. They say, well, you can't make more time. You can. The deferred sales trust, in a way, allows you to lengthen the investment time horizon for those assets after getting liquid, but before having to feel the tax impact. And from an investment manager's perspective, time horizon is the most important element in investing.
All right, so I'm going to now go to the presentation. So hopefully you guys got a little bit of inspiration there, but also got a little bit of credibility with some amazing, very, very smart people. They say, Angel, to get in the room with people that are smarter than you, right? It's part of why we're trying to get in the room with Joe Fairless's and the Brian Burks. But there's a guy on there named Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. You might have recognized him. He was in the very beginning of that video. And I'm coming out with a book here soon that has Kevin in there. But the point is, some of the smartest, most sophisticated people are either still learning about this or B, are seeing it in action. And that's why I want to give you a little bit of confidence, because it is an amazing tool that can unlock opportunities for you. So here we go. We're going to dive right into the presentation, and of course, you have questions along the way, ask Angel or put it in the chat, and then we can follow up with those later as well. So let me make this a full screen right there. All right. So unlock the power of the deferred sales trust to raise capital from crypto millionaires. Okay. And first of all, let's start with what is a deferred sales trust? What is a deferred sales trust? Well, first of all, we clarified, I think, before, but I'll mention it again. It's not a 1031 exchange. In fact, it's not a Delaware statutory trust, right? It's known as an installment sale. And so as an investor, you would know it like a seller carryback, right? If you can go to a seller who's selling an apartment complex and say, hey, look, I know you own it for $10 million, you own it free and clear. Would you carry paper? What did I put a $1 million down payment? You carry back 90% financing, and that can help you defer some tax. And, it gives me a chance to get into the deal without having to get financing from a bank. That is an installment sale. And that is the foundation of the deferred sales trust. So we like to say we're like a manufactured installment sale. In fact, it's just an installment sale partnered with a trust, an installment sale partnered with a trust. And so combining these two is the magic. And so we know installment sale, and your CPA definitely does, but what you don't know is a business trust in combination with an installment sale. And what can it help you do? Well, it can help you raise millions of dollars instead of thousands. In fact, I did a survey at the Best Ever Conference, and one of the survey questions was this: what's your average raise when it comes to when you're raising funds from people? Like, what is your average raise? And most people were saying somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000. And the other part of the question I asked was, well, of those raises, what was the where was it coming from?
I think we need to pause it there for a second, because there's a difference between how much you raise per investor and how much you're raising total. And I don't think that that was that clear, because it sounds like he's talking about the amounts that syndicators usually ask for as a minimum, like especially ones who just start, they'll go as low as 50K, but others will say it's like you can't get in unless it's 100K or somewhere along those lines. I think it's important to just add that real quick.
Where was it coming from? And most people were saying it was coming from people's savings, right? Now, some of them had some IRAs and some self-directed IRAs, but guess what? Those are thousands. What if you could do millions? And what if it didn't have to come from their savings? Meaning, if it came from their savings, that's post-tax. They're having to pay somewhere between 25 and 50% capital gains tax before they even show up to you. So think about this. If you're trying to help them earn 6 to 12% in a given year, why not help them before they even show up to you defer 25 to 50%? Wouldn't that help them? Wouldn't that help you add value to them? Wouldn't that help you to have like a buffer? Angel, I think about like a marathon, right? And if we're both running this marathon sprint, and it's what 27 and a half miles, I think it's a marathon. But I say, look, I'm going to give you a 30 to 50% head start, right? Like, who's going to win that race? Probably you. What would it take for me to out earn on a deal? What kind of cap rate? What kind of IRR? What kind of value add forced depreciation? How much more in rents would I have to achieve? And that's the value of this. It's no longer about cash flow. It's about tax flow. And if you can understand that this piece is very crucial before they show up to you, if you can help them unlock this capital, especially from crypto millionaires, you are adding so much value and providing so much margin for them and for you to go and perform on your deal, right? Because guess what? You are competing with the Dan Hanfords and the Joe Fairlesses and the Brian Burks and all of these other folks for capital and for deals. So how do you use this strategy to unlock value so that people have the know, like, and trust, as well as the performance? That is through the deferred sales trust. So that is why you need this. Okay, this is why you need this. And I want to compare it again to the Blockbuster way of doing things, which is 1031s versus Netflix. Netflix is the deferred sales trust, is the analogy here. And why is this? Well, the deferred sales trust can, again, help investors defer 25 to 50% capital gains tax and defer income tax on any type of asset: primary homes, businesses, investment real estate, cryptocurrency, public or private stock, LP positions, GP positions, carried interest, captive insurance, artwork, collectibles, NFTs, you name it. That's Netflix. It has all of the options available to you for that. Well, guess what Blockbuster 1031 is for? It's only for one of those: investment real estate. That's the only one it's for. It's not for all of those other assets, okay, that your clients or potential investors have. Next thing you can do, it can help others save their 1031 exchange. How many times have you had someone call you and say, hey, I'm under the gun. Can I 1031 into your deal? And either A, the timing doesn't match up. B, the deal isn't, you don't have a carve out. In fact, I've even asked Joe Fairless this, and I said, hey, do you allow carve outs? And he goes, it's very rare. Really, no. It's such a complicated process with the 1031. But guess what we can do? We can save that field 1031 to the deferred sales trust, and then that deferred sales trust equity can move into that deal. And so the deferred sales trust is invested into Brian Burke's multifamily deals, Joe Fairless's multifamily deals, Dan Hanford's multifamily deals, Kevin Bupp's mobile home park deals. It's invested in all these deals, Lane Keoka's. It's invested into these groups, and it can do the same for you. Now, the investor always makes the decision, right? And we can't over concentrate. There's all these some other rules here that we have to be aware of. And it's also very important to know that that there's some minimums we have to meet. And we'll talk about the minimums here in a minute. But it can save their failed 1031 exchange. That's very powerful. In fact, we're saving multiple 1031 exchanges even this year already, and it's very powerful. But make sure you're working with exchange accommodators that will accommodate. Do not work with an exchange accommodator who will not.
Hey, Angel, one thing that's popping out to me about this this slide here is that little TM after deferred sales trust. So can you only get a deferred sales trust through Brett's organization, or is that something that you are able to comment on?
I don't actually know, but installment sale is a section of IRS code for sure.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll find out, I guess.
Not allowed a deferred sales trust. I say that again. Do not work with them. We have 2 deals that are live right now that are with a very, very, very big, starts with an I, ends with an X. Do not use them. They say no and they don't cooperate. Okay. Make sure you're working with accommodators that will allow you to use the deferred sales trust as a backup plan, as an alternative. Okay. Next thing it does is it can provide you a new depreciation schedule. So I want you to think about this. It's no longer about cash flow. It's about tax flow. And tax flow, it's always about cash flow, and it's always about tax flow, but it's more importantly and more urgent about tax flow these days. And so you got to figure out ways to get depreciation to offset the cash flow. And part of why you do that is through exiting crypto that's not depreciable and investing into active real estate deals to get some of that depreciation. And you can do that with the deferred sales trust. Also, the thing called optimal timing. Our parents taught us to sell high and buy low. Well, guess what? With the deferred sales trust, you can sell high and buy low. And I'll give you the Monday morning quarterback story. And this is for a gentleman. And this is the reason I started my company. The reason is this: a gentleman in 2006 was looking at the 1031 exchange landscape, and he's selling a $20 million asset in Minnesota. And these guys worth a couple $100 million at the time. He kind of hates the stock market, loves investment real estate. He's done 1031 exchanges forever, but for the first time, he's going, this doesn't make any sense right now. I do not want to sell high and overpay for a property. I'm either going to pay the tax or I'm going to take a step of faith and use this deferred sales trust. Why? Because I can time the real estate market in case this thing takes a dip. And boy, did it take a dip. In fact, in 2008, we know what happened. And guess what? By 2011, the bank had called him up and said, you know, that property is sold to that 1031 crazy California buyer. He said, yes. He goes, well, guess what? We just foreclosed on that guy, and we're wondering if you want to buy back your old property. And he goes, well, maybe. What's the price? And they said 60 cents on the dollar, 40% less than what you sold it for. He goes, that sounds like a pretty good deal. He goes, give me a couple days. Now, in the meantime, all of his capital, $20 million asset, it was all deferred to the deferred sales trust. It was all sitting deferred. Really cool, right? He was able to, and it was in the stock market, very conservative stuff, by the way. And this guy hates the stock market, but he's like, it's better than paying the tax. Very conservative stuff. He was just waiting. His powder was dry. He was ready to pounce. And he pounced at the perfect time because he said, okay, I'm going to form an LLC. I'm going to partner with the trust. And this is the stuff that we help people do every day. And I'm going to buy this property back, all tax deferred, at 60 cents on the dollar. That's exactly what he did. So he did the optimal timing Monday morning quarterback. He sold high and he bought low, all tax deferred, not using a 1031 exchange. And this is my part where my brain exploded because we were taught, and it's true, that a 1031 exchange, you cannot do that. And exactly why we don't use Blockbuster anymore. We use Netflix. Okay. So that's really cool. Optimal timing, Monday morning quarterback, amazing, right? You can also eliminate 40% of the estate tax, right? So the other thing you have to worry about or be concerned about if you're ultra high net worth client or individual is amounts above 22 million married, 12 million single. And so we have a client that worth tens of millions of dollars. They just exited a $5 million multifamily property out of Colorado. And they moved it outside their taxable estate, which is going to eliminate that estate tax, which is crucial to understand that a stepped-up basis or this drop into your swap method does not solve for the estate tax. Okay. So the goal is to get it outside your taxable estate. The challenge is the 1031 and the stepped-up basis doesn't do that. That just solves for capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is the tiger by the tail. The elephant in the room is the 40% death tax. It's brutal. So you got to get it outside your taxable estate. So in one day, in one transaction, without giving it away to charity, without buying life insurance, without having to have 10 kids to try to gift it to, we were able to eliminate the estate tax. Pretty cool. And then, of course, you can diversify. The funds don't have to be in like-kind investments. You can put it into passive real estate deals. You can put it into active real estate deals. You can do ground-up development. You can do hard money lending. You can do stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. You can do cryptocurrency. You can start a business venture. It just needs to be business venture, okay? That's the key, investment venture. You can also keep the funds liquid. You can also pay off your debt, okay? We believe right now it's a great time to get out of debt, to get diversification, and get your powder dry with some liquidity. The funds can sit in the bank and wait for you to execute. Okay, so let's clarify who this is for. This is very important. Very, very, very important. Who is this for? Well, the minimum size deal is $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain. Let's say it again, $1 million net proceeds and $1 million gain per transaction. So, Brett, if I have 35 homes that equal that, no, it doesn't work, right? Because why? Because the transaction cost is going to be a lot. Now, Brett, if I have cryptocurrencies, 35 coins, can I make it work? Yeah, we have a pretty seamless way to do that because transaction costs are lower. There are ways to do that with cryptocurrency. Now, Brett, if I have a primary home or an investment property and then a GP interest at 500 each, can I combine the two to hit a million? Yeah, you can combine two there. Okay, but I want you to know that our minimum is 1 million, 1 million. A couple exceptions there, but what does it work? It works for cryptocurrency, NFTs, businesses, investment real estate. Remember, you can save a failing 1031 exchange, even if it's past the 45 days, Brett. Yes, no problem. GP and LP interest. Primary homes, we just did a luxury deal in Palo Alto. This is for the #1 realtor for KW in Palo Alto for like 20 years. He's amazing. He's super smart, super sophisticated, very skeptical at first. And he did it for his own primary $8.3 million home. Amazing. Huge tax savings. Okay. It works for private stock or public stock. It works for carried interest, captive insurance, artwork. Okay. And what is possible for you? I want to let you know that it's possible for you too, right? You might be like Shay Pope, a client of mine, who had a business sale out of Alabama. And he's looking to exit from his partners. He doesn't want to have to stay with the partners. He wants to start something new. Okay, so he's all excited about that. But guess what? He has a huge tax because he has zero basis in a $2.6 million business sale. So instead of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax, he's able to defer all of that tax. And then guess what? He became a general partner with a partner of his, and he's building 72 multifamily units in Tennessee. Guess who's funding that? Well, part of the funding is coming right from the trust, all tax deferred. Pretty cool. And then he also, the trust also invested about $1.6 million with Praxis Capital into one of their deals, and then also $300,000 with Link Hyoko for a multifamily deal. Oh, by the way, here's the primary home. This is the actual property that I helped the client with in Palo Alto. That's the backyard. Beautiful property. Had this little garden with like a like one of those chess pieces. You see, I think Alice in Wonderland when they're playing chess. I think that's what it is. A huge board there. It's just a beautiful property here. Here's another client of mine. He's out of the great state of California, but he's selling out of the great state of Georgia. And we saved his failed 1031 exchange. That's 1.1 million in tax. Past his 45-day. He was very happy. He, in fact, invested with Ashcroft Capital into their Vista 121 deal. The trust did. Very, very excited about that. He also put some money with Brian Burke. Very exciting. $7.6 million. But the cool thing was for David, he was just ready to kind of retire. But he didn't want to put it all into the stock market. He's like, Brett, I'm ready to retire. I don't want to have to actively manage these properties anymore. I can be passive. I can pursue my legacy dream of building a leadership compound conference in Montana and help build leaders up. That was his dream, and that's what he's doing right now with his time and his energy. This was the deal in Colorado, the $5.1 million sale. The client moved the $5.1 million outside the taxable estate to save 40%. These are a couple other clients. They did $36 million. They did another deal with us too. Two deals, $20 million, one with 16. They moved their GP interest. Brett, does all the LPs have to go to? No. Can each client have their own, each family unit have their own trust? Yes. Can some do it, some not do it? Yes. Can I do partial? Yes, yes. So it's very flexible. There's Netflix. Think Netflix. Whereas Blockbuster, everyone has to move. But these are two. And by the way, you can hear David's story, tell his whole story on my podcast. And then this was the one. This was the one that I think changes everything right now, right? But because there's there's about $2 to $3 trillion, depending on who you talk with on crypto worldwide. So on August 7, 2021, we did our first Ethereum crypto exit, and I helped Peter, my client, exit 5 million in Bitcoin and Ethereum and defer about 1.8 million in tax. I did that in 1 hour with one client. Isn't that cool? Right? All 5 million. Right? If you can unlock this value for people, could you do the same? Yes, you could. You absolutely could. Did our second one with a client, and again, she works for Google. She no longer works for Google, and she exited 5 million of Bitcoin. This is the one who had 50 million. Pretty cool. Deferred about 1.85 million in tax. My other client liked it so much, he did another 2.5 million exit of Ethereum when it hit another part. So we have about 12.5 million over the past. This is probably about past 180 days now. But here's the thing, right? Right now, you're probably thinking, Brett, oh my goodness, this sounds amazing. Well, I'm going to tell you the number one secret to overcoming the biggest objection to a deferred sales trust, and it's this: how to tell a few deal stories to gain some credibility, even if you have no DST or tax deferral experience, right? So this is the thing we get every single day. People call us and say, oh my gosh, Brett, I've seen your videos, I've seen your podcast, I read your book, or I'm reading your book, or about to read your book. This whole thing sounds amazing. I need my trusted advisor to say yes. In fact, I call my CPA. He's never heard of this thing, or he thought it was a Delaware, or he's very cautious.
And that's a recurring theme in commercial real estate. It's like, it's so common. I guess it's pretty similar to the situation that a lot of people use to describe meetings with a doctor these days, which is, patients will come in, they saw a commercial or something promoting some sort of drug or medicine or something, and say, oh, this is what I want because I have these sort of things. So you got these educated consumer customers, whatever. And in the real estate version, it's like, okay, so I want to do this to free up my 401k or whatever retirement funds you have. But that's pretty common. Is there anything you want to mention about that whole?
Well, I would just say, he said in here, he said, I talked to my CPA and he's never heard of this thing. Not everybody you talk to is going to know about everything there is out there. And so I think really you want to make sure you're working with people that are willing to be open-minded and learn about other possibilities. And so that's just kind of where I was at with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so Jason, do you have like as far as like people in your circle, or do you think it's best, like when in doubt, which type of professional do you talk to? Like, do you talk to an attorney to say, it's like, okay, well, I have these people who are in commercial real estate. They want me to do this, that, and the other thing with my retirement fund. Like, how do I make sure that this thing I've never heard of before isn't going to be a problem? Do you, what have you found people doing?
I'm not sure. They because some people, they just go off of what Angel and I say and take us as the experts, and follow up with their CPA later, say, hey, this is what I did. Can you bail me out or make sure I did it properly?
So network seems to be the real key, because like me personally, I think about, okay, who do I know who's been invested in like over 70 deals? Because chances are they've got some things right, and it's compliance is so weird, especially when you talk to people like Ethan Gao about like how it works at the top of the top with these big banks. It makes you go, it's like, are we all playing the same sport here? But what can you do? All right, let's continue.
I just don't understand how I know about this already. Isn't just telling me this, right? Like, why isn't everyone doing this? And I want to let you know that this story is going to help you get some credibility, and I'm going to tell you some stats as well, okay? And this is David Young. In fact, you saw David Young on the video, and you probably know who he was, but you're like, this guy's very articulate. He's smart. And I'm going to tell you, David is that smart and smarter. In fact, he's a former executive VP at PIMCO. And for those who know who PIMCO is, it's one of the largest money managers in the world. And they manage money for sovereign wealth, endowments, pension funds, some of the largest wealth people and groups in the world. So they're very big, okay? And so like most people, oh, by the way, he ran with a guy named Bill Gross. Bill Gross is kind of like a Mark Cuban of the industry, and very respected, very well known. And David Young and Bill Gross, David Young was Bill Gross's right-hand guy, and there's about 4 other guys that built PIMCO from 80 billion to 1.2 trillion. They did this for 20 years. I like to call these guys the Hall of Famers of financial industry. I mean, these guys are just super, super smart and very, very thoughtful. And their business is due diligence. They do due diligence on companies, due diligence on investments, due diligence on the economy. They're economists, very smart. And guess who everyone wants them to approve or be a part of or pitch or put their name on their tax deferral strategy? Everyone wants David to have his name on it, okay? So David gets approached with the deferred sales trust 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, he's skeptical, but he's open-minded. And he says, you know what? Let me see about this thing. Not just me, but let me see it with my CPA, my tax team, my legal team. Let me talk with the clients, talk with the banks. Let me look at the structure. Let's not do a 2-day due diligence or a 2-week or a 2-month, but let's do a 2-year due diligence. And what does he find? Well, he finds two conclusions. Number one, the tax professional who created this, he's a CPA tax attorney, who created this is the smartest person they've ever met, which is a big statement. Now, and maybe, big statement, especially tax-wise, smartest person they've ever met. Okay, I could say this person is the Bill Gates of tax deferral. He's brilliant. He's one of my business partners. He's amazing, really smart. Okay, and number two, they will put their name on this. In fact, they became a part of the Deferred Sales Trust New Asset Allocation Advisory Team. And this is the question. Angel, you ready to participate?
Okay.
Bring an Angel back in. Here's the question, Angel. If it's good enough for David Young and his legal team after 2 years of due diligence, is it good enough for Angel and her legal team, even if they hadn't heard about it yet?
Yeah. Like, I can't, I've been sitting here the whole time, just like, holy night, you're blowing my mind.
Of course, none of this counts as investment advice and disclaimer and legal and blah, 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 blah.
And that's what it comes down to, right? As soon as you get this certainty of conviction with it's 100% legal, the track record, it all really becomes pretty simple, okay? Because it's just like, it's very like a 1031 exchange that we've already concluded that's illegal, right? If you follow the rules, if all the things, right? It's like an IRA. We all concluded that it's legal and it works. It's, you can defer tax. The deferred sales trust is 100% legal, and it's good enough for David Young and his legal team. Is it good enough for you? And that's kind of where we're at here. And I want to invite you to take some action with Angel by reaching out to her and connecting and letting her know the value of the deferred sales trust. And if you want to learn more, we've got our free mastermind, we've got our YouTube channel, whatever you need. At the end of the day, I want you to identify who is your perfect investor. B, what kind of assets are they owning right now? C, how could the deferred sales trust unlock that capital that's sitting there, especially crypto millionaires that can exit into the trust and invest alongside of you for your deal? Angel, any questions there?
I wrote down some questions, but it's like, I'm like trying to wrap my head around everything you just put out there because it's like life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing. So like, I had just recently learned that you can like 1031 from a deal to a deal. And I was like, oh, that's magical. But if you can do this from a deal to a deal, then that's even better. Because like, I know like our family, we have a child with a very rare genetic condition, and we want to have a foundation that's like endowed so it's self-funding. And we want to create that generational wealth for our family, but we don't want to do it where every time it passes down, it loses 40% of its value. And this is a way to stop that.
I'll tell you a couple other stories too. We just helped a dentist in New Jersey, and imagine working for 30 years as a dentist, and this is like your entire life savings in your work, and you're selling the business for about 1.5 million. But New Jersey state tax and federal capital gains tax and the Obama 3.8% tax, it's going to crush like 40% of that 1.5 million, or about $600,000. So instead of having to pay all that, he's able to put it all into a retirement account and into real estate investments, and literally have, instead of 900,000, have 1.5 million. That's generational wealth for himself and his wife, more monthly income to live off of, pass it on to kids. And some of the questions are, how long does this last? We can pass it on to your kids. They can keep it going. We have 10-year increments. What are the returns? Well, it depends on the investments. It depends on your risk tolerance. Generally speaking, about 8% net of fees. What are the fees? The fees are about 1.5% to set it up, and about 1.5% to 2% recurring, depending on the size of the deal and depending on how and where the funds are invested. This is why we have our minimums, to make sure the ROI makes sense for you. The legal track record, again, is 25 plus years, thousands of closes, billions under management. Is there a private letter ruling? Yes, there's a private letter ruling. National law firms have reviewed it. It's had over a dozen no-change IRS audits. So it's literally batting 1,000. It's perfect, but it's proprietary and it's protected. And we don't give our secrets out until we're engaged with people. And it's all conditional engagement too. Like if you have a deal you want to look at, hey, nope, it's conditional. Like we can conditionally engage you. If the deal doesn't work out, you don't use the trust, you don't owe us anything, but we will consult with your CPA, consult with your financial advisor, we'll consult with your attorneys, we'll go through it all. We'll form the trust. We'll look at your documents. We'll look at all. For some reason, you don't use it or the deal doesn't close, you don't owe us anything. And so we try to take that pressure off, Angel, because we believe that everyone deserves to have freedom from capital gains tax when they exit and not have to suffer that tax consequence, and it's gone forever.
Like,
Yeah, I got to pause it right there too, because I want to just try and frame it in for the audience a little bit here. And we're talking about 7-figure gains, and then we're talking about ways to defer those taxes, and so we're talking like real numbers here. Okay, so like he was saying, like the tax savings. At one point, he was talking about, I think it was like about 5 million or something like that, and it was like 1.5 in deferred taxes. And like where is that gonna go otherwise? It's really, I think it's so important to realize, like the whole idea of like if you're aiming to build your nest egg, like that's absolutely where you need to spend your attention. It's what's the exit and what's the tax situation going to be like, because it'll wipe out most of your good fortune just right there. So that's really something. I think it's really amazing to be able to meet people like this and know these other ideas. Like getting a 7-figure tax savings. It's just astounding, and I think that's a great reason to get that subscription. Right now the better spot to go is /VIP because our summit's coming up. But if you want access to all of this content in like 250 plus hours, that's understating it by a lot.
Yeah, it's probably like 400.
Yeah. So Angel, do you want to say a few words about why people should join the subscription?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said at the very beginning, I didn't learn everything that I've learned from books and podcasts. I got some stuff there, but the majority of what I know and what I've learned has been from these one-on-one settings, whether it be with coaches or with different speakers. But this is how I've learned it. And I know that there are other people out there that learn similarly to me, and they want to hear it and they want to be able to take notes on it, rewind it, look at it again, rewind. Do people even rewind anymore? Anyway, take it back, watch it again, and just really absorb the information. And if you upgrade to the VIP subscription, you get to be a part of our REI Rocks family, and you get access to everything. Like, you'll have all of the summit sessions, you will have the live sessions, you will be able to join the live side as long as you have a subscription. It's a really amazing deal, and I think everybody should do it.
And if I mute myself, then I make way less sense. But if you have access to the live side of this, my favorite part is you can prepare for when people are presenting live. You can have your questions prepared and you can talk to these experts where you already know that this person knows the answer because they've demonstrated it, but you just need some more specifics. So I think that's a huge thing. So we've only got a few minutes left of this presentation. We're going to do the doggy bag, the takeaways in a second. I hope you're enjoying this. We start this live stream reviewing these different presentations at 11 a.m. Eastern time every Friday. And it's a fantastic way to build your commercial real estate understanding and business. So let's finish her off.
I've never ever heard of anything like this. And like, I think personal experience, when my husband's father passed away, I know my mother-in-law was very, very concerned. And to be able to share something like this with her, like, I'm excited to be able to share this with her. Because I'm for real. I'm going to share this with someone in my family because this is a big deal. It really is a big deal. And I think it allows, especially, I'm gonna cry, but like, I'm thinking about like what I believe my father-in-law would have wanted to see in continuation for his family. And it allows more of that dream to be passed on.
You nailed it, right? And that's what we're in. We're in a battle for the wealth of America, transfer to the government, in fact, versus being in the hands of the people. And this is a battle that we have to follow the rules and do everything legally. But if you don't plan and you don't bring in the professionals to help you execute this, the money's gone forever, right? And otherwise, you could be deferred, you could be growing, you could be living off the cash flow, you could be investing, you could be unlocking dreams. And so this is what we're about. So if anyone wants to learn more, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also keep attending Angel's events in the future for more guests like me, right? Hopefully add some value today.
No, this is amazing. And, just thank you for taking the time to be here today and to share this with our audience. And guys, those of you that are out there, this is massive. Even if you're not at a point where you feel like you can actually use something like this right now, you're going to be able to in the future because you're already setting a foundation by choosing to invest in solid assets, choosing to invest in real estate and use your funds the way that they're really best suited to be used. So again, Brett, thank you for being here today. And guys, yes, it's day 3, but we've got the live side and there's more to come. So see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
How cool was that? Let's go back to this layout here. Yeah, that was a really amazing presentation. And I think part of what it goes back to, like my frustrations while I was young when it came to finance in general, is it's pretty clear that there's 2 different phases. One of them is getting it, as in money, right? Your finances, right? And then there's the phase of keeping it. And it's pretty common, I think, for people who, like getting it in the first place, it's not a clear path to success. They're not convinced it's ever going to happen. And so they never bother to learn how to keep it, but that actually prevents them from getting it and they don't even realize it. And I think that that's what understanding these tax strategies, understanding what people are doing, I think that's what's so important. But I don't know if that counts as a takeaway. Who wants to say some doggy bag or
I can add here. Really, the main thing I think that you should take away from something like this is go with someone that's an expert at doing it. So I'm sure if you've Googled it, you've seen that there's some people that are doing these deferred sales trusts that are familiar with them. And make sure you're going with someone that knows what they're doing, because you don't want something to get messed up along the way, because you'd be putting a lot at risk. So just make sure you're going with somebody that is a professional and knows what they're doing. I would suggest that you go with, you go with our presenter. But just be careful. Make sure you're watching out and protecting your assets.
Excellent, excellent. And Jason, how about you? What are your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, both y'all pretty much covered it. And like what you said originally, Dan, people are more concerned about acquiring it versus trying to keep it. Whereas if they learn how to keep it, they can acquire it better. So need to just start planning for where you're gonna be, not where you currently are. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so one thing that's really interesting about Lauren Capital and how we're set up here is, Jason, you're the underwriter, you're the numbers person. Angel, you're the outgoing, the relationship person here. And I don't think you really have to know the ins and outs of the numbers, but somebody absolutely does. One thing we haven't had a chance to really plug is the underwriting services. And so I'm going to put some triangles on my face again here. Boom. Is there more room in your underwriting? I think that's what everybody was sitting there wondering, is if there was more room in their underwriting. Angel, do you want to say a thing or two about this service that's on the screen?
Absolutely. So when you're looking at your underwriting and you're like, man, I hope this is right, you don't have to just rely on hopes and dreams. You can actually send an email out to Jason at laurencapital.com, or you can send an email to me, message one of us on LinkedIn, and we'll get back with you, because what Jason can do is he can look at your underwriting in your spreadsheet. He can look at your underwriting in his spreadsheet, or he can full on be your underwriter. So you've got a whole array of ways that you can employ Jason as your underwriter with his review or services. And there's different stages and costs associated with that. But when you schedule a time to meet with him, you will be already prepaying for the services that you're getting. So you will, whatever you put in there will go towards your services. So it's not like you're double paying or anything like that.
That's absolutely beautiful. So the only other thing, like some of you may be watching this and going like, oh, well, this is great that I'm getting stuff for free. You saw probably these comments that are down here. It's the same one there about getting your access to these summits. And but, hey, if you're low on cash, then maybe you're just looking for a free option to learn more stuff. That's down at this bottom of the screen right here on how to get your free access to the next virtual summit. Of course, that won't give you access to the hundreds of hours of previous summits, but that's a great answer for people who want to learn more and do more for free. But I'm excited that we're just a month away from this next virtual summit. And Angel, you've been working like crazy, talking to all these different people, and I'm sure this is going to be another real life-changing event. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really awesome. And the cool part too is there's going to be the master classes again. And if you've ever wanted to know more about Yakov Smart and his program, he's running a master class on the first day. The next day, Amy Silvas is going to be talking about her LinkedIn hacks and secrets that really pairs nicely with what Yakov is doing. And then on Saturday for the master class, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we do to raise capital, because we have raised $1 million for each deal that we've done so far. We raised $1 million on the first, we raised $1 million on the second. And so I can just talk a little bit about how we did that and share some of the things that I do that have worked for me. So that's what's going to happen on those 3 masterclass days. And so really masterclasses on capital raising, and who doesn't need help with that right now? It's a crazy environment to try and raise in right now.
Definitely. But if people are in the audience thinking, how can I help out but still not pay anything? I think the best answer is to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button, and that makes this little graphic make way more sense. I promise you. That's what that's all about. I just love throwing those things up, toss you up. Thank you very, very much for watching. This has been the REI Rocks Review. We're here every Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we review these commercial real estate presentations, the roundtables, the masterclasses, all that kind of stuff. And we hope to have you here again. You guys have anything else you want to add before we call it a day and give everybody their afternoon?
Well, I would just say that there's nothing wrong with the free tier. There's every summit, there's about 30 to 35 hours of content there, and you're going to learn. You'll learn if that's where you need to be. We would love to have you on the live side. We have a lot of fun on the live side, and it's not a huge financial commitment. So go to the site, look at the subscription, and just give it some consideration, because I think you'll be really glad that you've done it once you get to be a part of the live side.
It's definitely an investment in time as well. If you're looking to learn faster, then like shelling out a little bit is a really good idea, because you can have less of that time where your side hustle isn't really making you anything. So if you are in a hurry, if you need to learn quickly, then the VIP, I think, is definitely the best idea. But if you've got lots of time, then the free answer, I think, makes lots of sense. So I appreciate that. Jason, did you have anything to say before we sign off?
No, it was a pretty good topic today. I think, or I hope everyone got some value out of it. And if you missed it, guess what? It's going to be on YouTube, so you can catch it again.
Exactly.
Watch it at 2 times speed, so that you could actually get it at 3 times. So
yeah, that's right. Fire hose that content. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week, 11 a.m. Fridays Eastern. Bye.